Yeah, so I was watching this video about the mothers packing the bags for their children to go to the dad's house, and I got a little story about that. So back when my daughter was 5, actually 3, 4, going on, I'd say around 3, 4. Her donor was not consistent in her life, right? So the one time I did let her go, he did not, because he wasn't consistent in her life, I knew that he did not have any clothes for her, not specifically for her, right? But he did have multiple children, and he only had one daughter that was in his home. So, of course, it's natural for me to pack my daughter's clothes knowing that he wasn't consistent in her life. So, I packed my daughter some clothes in her bag and sent them with her. So, his wife gives me a phone call and says, "Why did you pack all of these clothes for her?" I say, "Because y'all don't have any clothes for her." Like, because it was last minute, you know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't something that was planned. So, instead of him calling me, but she called me, which wasn't an issue. She says, instead of communicating effectively, efficiently, she says no. And I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But she should have just been like, yeah, we can just buy her clothes here. But there was no communication. Like, she had a whole issue, right? So I brushed it off like I always brush stuff off because I'm not trying to have no issues. But this woman just she kept trying to create problems because she was very insecure because her man had cheated on her multiple times, but she was very insecure and rightfully so, but she was trying to stir up problems. And so because of that reason, I took my daughter out of the situations because when you in that type of dynamic or that type of situation, the man is not ever going to speak up, and you don't even know if the woman is going to. 9 times out of 10, she's not going to relay what she's doing to him the way that she should, unless like being honest, she should have not. It was just a bunch of mess. So I just removed myself and my daughter out of the situation. But I feel this. This is what I feel. My opinion about it. If that person is not consistent in that child's life, that means they don't have anything for that child. You know, they don't have any bedtime clothing. They don't have any um, day clothes, socks, shoes for that child. Now, you might do hand me downs, that's fine, but if that mother that is there with that kid has shoes and she understands and knows that you're not in that child's life consistently to where you have things for that child, then there shouldn't be an issue with her sending her child's clothes, some of her child's clothes, not the brand new ones, but her everyday or their everyday clothes to that house to make sure that she or he has a change of clothes, bedtime clothes, day clothes, change of clothes just in case you mess clothes up, and a change of shoes, socks, and anything else that that child needs just in case they don't have it at that house because that child is not there consistently. Now, if you are a consistent parent, then you will have clothes, shoes, bath essentials, and anything else that that child needs because you are a consistent father. You are a consistent parent. But for that woman to call my phone and have an issue with me having my daughter clothes and having a bag of my daughter's clothes, a backpack full of clothes, knowing that my daughter did not stay there consistently, not even once a week. She wasn't even over every couple of months because of their issue. But y'all men gotta be careful with that too, because sometimes the woman that you are with will sometimes have an issue with your baby mama and create chaos between them two, and then go back to you and tell you that she has an issue when it's not her, it's the woman that you with. It's the woman that you're with. Yeah, and excuse the way I sound. I've been working 12-hour shifts. I'm tired. But I just been seeing this on TikTok and I wanted to, give my little opinion about that. If you are a consistent parent, the other parent who has that child majority of the time, they know that you have what you need at your house for your kid. If you are a good parent, if you are um consistent parent. But parents who have the backpacks of children's belongings to send to the other parent, it's because that child, you're not consistent with your child, or your child is lacking, or you're lacking with your child, or they might, it might be something that your child wants that you don't have at your house. And that's a communication situation. You need to talk, y'all need to communicate. Not the girl that you with or the man that you with. Not, not, no. The two people who had that child need to communicate. Need to, whether if that's verbally, through email, parenting app, or whatever. You need to communicate. And your spouses should not be in the middle of that. They should not have an opinion about how you parent your child, y'all child together. And they shouldn't have y'all need to respect each other's boundaries. You can't run another parent's home or what they do with their kid. As long as that kid is safe, they're not being mentally or emotionally or physically or sexually abused. Um, they're not being picked on. They're not being coercively controlled. They're not being gaslit. They're not. It's a lot of different forms of abuse out here. So please educate yourself. As long as they're not being mistreated, because mistreatment is not just on the surface. Sometimes you gotta look underneath it as well. I do know sometimes parents will use their children against each other, and that is a form of abuse too. So just be careful, y'all. That's why I'm glad that I don't have that situation, because it is very nerve wracking. I've tried to mend fences and tried to do things right, but because you can't co-parent with a man, you can't co-parent with a emotionally immature man who is still a little boy at heart, whose frontal lobe has not developed, and who has a woman who is very insecure and childish, and you can't co-parent with people who will use the child to get under your skin, because their hatred for you outweighs the love that they have for that child, but that child don't understand or know what's going on. So y'all be safe out here, be careful, please educate yourself, and most importantly, educate your kids and keep your kids safe. Keep your kids safe. And I'm going to say this again. If a parent has to send a backpack of clothing, or I'll say clothing, just basic needs, to your house, 9 times out of 10, you're not a consistent parent, which means you are a deadbeat parent. And if you know that you are consistent with that kid, like that kid spends a couple of days a week at your house and a couple of days a week at the other parent's house, or even a weekend here, a week here and a week there, or 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, a month here, a month there. Okay, you might not be an inconsistent parent or a deadbeat parent, but that child might not have something at your home that they want to bring with them, or want to, that's where that communication comes in at. That's where that comes in at. So, and keep y'all spouses out of your agreements with your baby mama, baby daddy, mother of your child, father of your child, because that's not for them to be communicating with your baby mama or your baby daddy. Y'all need to learn how to grow the fuck up and communicate. Because if you got another thing, if you have an insecure spouse, they're gonna always have an issue with how they don't have to agree with it, but they're gonna always, if they're insecure, they're gonna always try to create problems. That's why you need to get out of that. You know, I've been through that myself, and I would just rather not deal with it. It's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, y'all take care. Be safe.